This is a bit of a speculative video, speculative topic, but I I really have been loving the Shroud of Turin basically for as long as I've known about it. Fascinated with it, and just one of the few, I've been fascinated with it. And lately I've been really I've spent more time looking at it. I mean, just looking at it and listening to different priests and different people talk about it. And it's it's an amazing object to contemplate. And you'll hear people talk about that it's not a painting, for one, that it, as is to this day, is not replicable, that we're not sure exactly how it was made, but that we can be sure that, certain routes of manufacture, we can rule those out, painting, and the idea that it is a forgery seems highly implausible when you get into the specifics. And there's a lot of good data on it, a lot of good research. But that, one thing that people posit is that somehow this imprint was encoded on this like razor thin, like nanoparticle thin, I don't know exactly how thin, but razor thin depth of this cloth, of this tapestry, of this textile, that this 3D information was encoded on it. And people proposed that it was some kind of a radiation event, some kind of a spontaneous, almost sounds like a release of like a nuclear type, not explosion, but I'm not, the right terminology is escaping me, but there was some kind of a light emission or a radiation that happened, which happens to align very well with the sort of traditional gospel accounts of Christ in the tomb and his resurrection, that there was some kind of a supernatural event. And to think that we might have that actual relic, I mean, is pretty phenomenal. I mean, utterly phenomenal, just completely phenomenal. But that's one of the theories that's proposed for how that relief, how that 3D information got encoded, of this like negative image of a man with all the wounds and obviously having been brutalized and horrifically wounded, how that information is encoded, and they've been able to kind of extract and build 3D models with it. I mean, if you know about the Shroud of Turin at all, you've probably spent a lot. It's hard to, I can imagine, be hard to be like a casual it would be hard to be casually interested in the Shroud of Turin. So it's like if you've heard of it, you probably know quite a lot about it. So I don't really need to go into all that, but in Tibetan Buddhism, I believe there is well-known phenomena within that tradition of very high beings, very high lamas that reach a certain state of coherence, that when they die, or maybe while they're still alive, their body dissolves into rainbow light. It's like there is a transfiguration. Would that be the right word? Transmogrifying event. Not sure if that's the right word. That there is it's like a threshold of spiritual development beyond which the apparent physical becomes self-luminous. It's almost like the divinization of matter. That the apparent density of consciousness, that is the apparent physical world, can become so transparent to the divine light that it itself, I don't know if dissolves is quite the right word, but it's somewhere in that aerosolizes. I kind of want to just say, matter becomes spiritualized, divinized, and transforms into radiant light, transforms into, in the Tibetan case, they talk about the rainbow body, which is just light, full spectrum of light. And so I wonder, you start to make connections, not for the sake of being syncretic, not for the sake of like saying every religion is the same. It's not about that. It's about, if truth is truth, capital T, then it should be true everywhere. So it shouldn't be, there's Christian truth and Buddhist truth and Hindu truth and atheist truth. No, truth is one. Truth is the one thing that necessarily, if it's objectively true, can't be culturally, can be mediated, can come through a cultural expression, but can't be copyrighted or owned by any culture. And so, you start to see that these kind of deeper metaphysical possibilities. And so I just start to wonder, like, if that wasn't something similar, or some kind of event, the resurrection, having something in common with that divinization of matter, that transformation of matter, and also that the transfiguration in the Bible on Mount Tabor, I think it is, Christ becomes luminous, radiant, before who? Peter and John, Andrew maybe, I can't remember who, and Moses and Abraham, I think, appear. But that there is some kind of an event. I think what it is that we become more and more transparent, less and less dense, more and more diaphanous, more and more window-like. We become more and more like windows through which the divine light can emanate. And I just thought that's kind of an interesting, speculative thing to contemplate. What was that event that the shroud seems to record? some kind of a radiation event. God's light breaking through into this dense layer, and I think ultimately that's what Christ came as. He came as God's light, a very high pitch, a very high frequency of God's light breaking through into this realm, with even kind of more discrete events of that effulgence, that effulgent light, effulgent light. And I just thought that was interesting. The rainbow body in Tibet, in the Tibetan tradition, seems to point to something, if not the same, similar.